All right. It is 7:15. I'm going to call the April 3rd Newcastle Select Board meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right. We're gonna move on to hit the minutes real quick. We get the minutes from March 13th, 2023. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Yep.
Moved by Karen. Do I have a second? Second by Tor. Do we have any discussion on the minutes? Good. All right, all those in favor? All right, nothing. Moving on to public comments not on the agenda. Going once, going twice. Moving on, we're gonna shift around and move it right on to 7.2, which is the fiscal year 24 budget review, and jump right in. And we want to finish up anything on municipal budget.
Sorry, Joel, I do just have one small amendment to the agenda. It's just the warrant amount. It's the amount on the paper agenda now.
Okay.
Was a correction.
Okay.
For an invoice that was listed twice. So it's $248,061.
So it went down.
For the warrant, correct.
Yes, you're saving money. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
All right. Cool. So we're good on capital road projects right now. We want to,
So
anything else we want to go over? All right. Let's jump to the
Public Works.
public works. All this paper, so easy.
Yeah, you're the only one. You would have been got there faster starting from the back.
I know, but I get confused. I don't know what's what. All right, so we got the public works. Want to go down through this line by line, or we want to go about this?
Yeah, what do you, if you prefer to go through it line by line, we can absolutely do that. The way we typically do it is pointing out the things that have shifted. And then if you have any questions about any of the other lines, we can circle back to that. That might.
I'd like to start with the road commissioner's salary. That's that.
Yeah.
20%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't blame
All right. I mean, that brings us to. So how do we want to? You want to hit the ups?
Yep.
Or do we want to just?
Seth, do you want to go through the changes?
Sure.
I'll just speak to the first big change that you see, which is technical assistance. We put in an estimated amount of 10,000, which is a reduction, but it sounds like we maybe want to have a bit of discussion on that point. It's an engineering allowance that, and Seth can speak to this, for Island Road and Glidden Street. But previously last year, we had budgeted 30,000 for potential traffic study engineering report for the intersection. We're still working on arranging just how it's a collaboration with DOT, potentially applications for grant.
So let me ask Seth in technical. So last year, Seth, as I remember, there was a few things. There was perhaps to look at the Diamond Bridge, South Diamond Bridge, right?
Yes, sir.
We kind of talked about some assessment there, just because that's it's some problems.
Yep.
And so there was that. We talked about including that the Liberty
Yes.
Street sort of overpass here.
Correct.
Was that in there too?
It was.
Yeah. And I think what was left over was this idea of traffic study. I vaguely remember that 15,000.
We had originally, if my memory serves correctly, we originally had 5 grand in there for the bridge and looking at that, and then we increased it by 25, I believe, when we had leftover funds to try to incorporate the need for DOT in doing what we were gonna do for some engineering around this traffic circle. And to Sarah's point, we have been in conversation with DOT, but we're finding very quickly that in order to get that engineering to be even remotely worthwhile spending, we have to really adhere to a certain mechanism in which we go about getting that engineering for it to be applicable to the project. So without willy-nilly just throwing $30,000 away, we've been trying to appreciate that process and find a way to integrate it. The other aspect that we're really struggling with is even if we spend the $30,000, we appreciate the board's intent to move forward on this. But we're looking at a size of a scope of a project that is probably going to be several $1,000,000. And the likelihood of the town, although we appreciate your option to go out and bond that, it's just we're struggling on a budgetary side to be able to come up with the matching, where we would even comprehend how to get the matching funds to move the project forward. So that's where we're at the crossroads right now.
So let me just say this, I'll jump in here. I think so this is kind of philosophical. Okay? So I think we have this idea that, you know, there's aspirational planning for our downtown 65 before districts. We highlighted that in the comp plan, we built our core zoning code around this concept. So, you know, what can we do moving forward to sort of carry that through? So roads is a big part of this. I think we need to talk about, I'm not sure whether this is the right place for this money, but this is kind of in line with, so there's grant money out there. The state's got some matching grant money. You know, I'm thinking of it kind of like the broadband grants, you know, where you have to apply for it. You have to basically apply, create an application, and you say, you know, this is our plans, you know, and then you're awarded grant money. The grant money right now, what I'm aware of is there's a village partnership initiative grant.
Yep.
And so, you know, that's like a 50-50 grant. So whatever we would come up with, the state would basically match that. So I think, you know, the question is, and there's a process to get there. You gotta create an application, so discussion with the DOT, and then you put out an RFP, and then get engineering sort of fees. And then we'd know how much basically we're looking really to do this study. So I think that's the process. I mean, I think the actual money to do this that's down the road. I don't even think that's part of the consideration right now. It's what can the state help us with, and what does this look like? So I'm just wondering, you know, where does the money live? I'm not sure technical assistance is the place. I guess it's maybe a good place. I'm not sure if it's a reserve account that we want to discuss to sort of manage this. So, you know, I think again, it's philosophical. Maybe you all have some kind of plan beyond this.
And to answer your question further, to your point, the study for the bridge was done and has been spent out of this account. That's why you see the year-to-date $7,500.
Okay.
And that study was used to further develop the budget down. We added a line for bridge maintenance, 107-4212. And the recommendation from the engineer built off that study was for 18,000 and change, or 18,000 even. I allowed for 20 because the budget was made in August of last year. So if there's any price changes between last year and this year, there's a little bit of room to move in that. So that number is specifically coming out of that report that we paid from the engineer on the bridge. And then as far as over here. I haven't moved anything with that just yet because we are still, Sarah and I have been in talk with Doug Coombs and that program that you're specifically talking about. We've been doing research as far as that goes as well. And, I'll be honest with you, we don't know exactly how much it's going to be. So I haven't touched anything else yet to see if there's any other platforms in which we want to proceed with that intersection, project.
Yeah.
So
I think,
that's why.
I think it's not just intersection project. I think we gotta think of this as a, a downtown development project. I think this is more inspiration, than just
Oh,
an
yeah.
intersection.
It's going with all the ramps. it's
Like
going
I
with
said,
all-
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, we built our comp plan around this for zoning. Purposes. So there's been a lot of initiative and a lot of community involvement with this, with sort of the grander scheme of this. So it's not just an intersection. I think that's a mistake. I think it's
Good.
it's a village. It's a village initiative. And I think that's appropriate for what the DOT is. So, I think what's the best way to, work towards that and think it's going to take, it's going to take some time. There's going to be conversation ongoing, but I did have a great conversation with the DOT regional planner today. And, he recognizes that this is, there's something going on in Newcastle that has potential. So it was positive.
I didn't, yeah, I didn't go what we're saying here. I think I think it's more like from a town perspective, more of a planning effort at this point. But it's a planning effort that we recognize we can't do anything without DOT's input and, approval, because the public realm of each center is all DOT. So we absolutely work with them, but it's not just about an intersection or roads. It's about that downtown space. So I agree. I think it's a long-term thing. We need to work with, from the beginning, so we don't put them on a path that they say no. So, but I don't think it's a huge amount of. We're not, ready to engineer or design. We need to basically think about what fits the comp and code, and also fits into DOT's, rules and regulations.
Yeah, I mean, part of the discussion I had today was, this is a discussion. This is not like, okay, you got, this is it, and then this is what you do, and this is, this is a conversation that starts, initially, we had a meeting in January with, the local governments, with the regional planner from DOT, and, it was a good meeting. So that was a good first step. I think the DOT is willing to work with us to create an application for the grant money, and they're also willing to help us create an RFP when this goes out, to design an RFP so that we can capture the cost of this, and what exactly needs to be done to meet the vision of the town. So, I think those are positive things that we need to keep moving forward. I think last year we created this, we have money in this budget and say that as a commitment to that initiative. And to say, look, there's something there, we gotta put some money in. We don't know, how it's gonna be used. We didn't use it, obviously. But I think we still need to carry that commitment forward. I don't think, if we decrease that line item, where are we putting that money to carry that commitment forward? Is it in reserves, or is it some of it? So that's my only point, is keep the initiative, keep this moving forward. At some point, we're gonna have to go out, see exactly, study costs, and that will be a number. We can put it on the table. It'll be a competitive bid cycle. So we'll get, 2 or 3 numbers from engineering firms, and say, holy cow, that's a lot of money. And then, the state would say, yeah, we'll give you 50% of that. And then we can say, okay, this is our deficit. we have this much set aside as being sort of initial seed money commitment to this. We can go to special town meeting if we have to and make a difference. Or, maybe it just follows timeline so that it gets pushed off to 2025 or something like that. So, it's in the next budget cycle. There's a few ways to look at this, but I don't think we want to kind of regress on this. I think it's a big part of what we're trying to do.
The reason that I carried the number that I carried is specifically for Glidden Street primarily, if we need to have a little for, how, whatever goes on Island Road, then there's there, but I think that a good portion of that's gonna get chewed up. In discussion with the water district as supposed, in conjunction with some grant funding that they've got some water line work, they're going to be doing a significant amount of repairs down on replacement on Glidden Street. In anticipation for that, I have to be honest with you, there's no way for me to know, even if the road is within our right of way. I don't know if sidewalks are, so we really need to get some outer boundaries laid out down through there. If we're going to do anything on Glidden Street at all in hopes to, in conjunction with the sidewalk, water main construction, we will need to make sure we're within the right of way, and we're going to need a little bit of help just making sure that where we're going to place structures, drainage structures, where we're okay to do so. I'd hate to do anything and have it be on private property and get a mess. So I put this line item in here to help with that design effort in hopes that next year's budget can carry some street reconstruction. So in the conversation that we just had in the capital of where we go next, some of these I'll call maintenance projects are going to become capital projects, much to the tune that we did Academy Hill. Academy Hill was a much longer, bigger, robust project than I feel some of these smaller streets, but we're going to be getting into those caliber of projects. So an effort to have that be ready so that we know we can move with the potential of working together with the water district. That's that money is set aside. I can't tell you, I don't know what the survey is down through. And I don't know if we've done any improvements where it would land on the survey without having some clearly defined marks.
This is specifically Glidden's.
Yeah.
So in summary, if you want to maintain the level of funding that you all contributed last year for a potential engineering study for the downtown intersection, you may want to consider an increase so that that 10,000 that Seth is proposing is protected in order to.
Or we'd move it to a different
Or move
spot.
it to a different section.
Yeah, but I mean, that's my point. I don't know if this is really consistency. I think, like I said, this is kind of like, think of it like the broadband budget grant. It's like we're putting money in, we're putting money up to say, if we get the grant, awesome. Then this is going to impact that. And it's, maybe, yeah, like I said, bridge the gap if it's more. But I think, is it technical assistance? I mean, we don't know. We're not, so, back to the philosophy, I think these line items have got to be built around some actual known costs. I have no idea how much it's definitely going to cost. If Seth needs 10,000 to do survey work, it's definitely going to cost more than 20,000, 40,000. State matches that. So it's, like I said, it's a commitment. It's acknowledgement, a commitment to what the grander aspirations are for this district and town. Is that the best place for it? I guess I wonder that, and I would almost argue against it. So I would say that maybe we leave that 10 if that covers what Seth needs for Glidden Street, some other things. And we think about the village partnership initiative. Some. Yeah.
Seth, the Liberty Street. Is it the culvert there?
It's this concrete abutment this, you know, on the other side where the inn is, that's just a giant concrete abutment.
Okay,
And it's just it's in a state, and I haven't moved on anything yet. Because like I said, we've been cautious as to how much to take from the initiative planning. With DOT, we didn't, you know, I didn't want to, I'm 75. That report came in, I think $2,500 over what they had originally. So we're into a little bit more than what we had originally planned for last year. I didn't want to take money that wasn't really designed or designated for that. I know the tour was, you know, looking to try to move something forward with that. So I haven't moved anything there. You know, Sarah, this isn't a subject that has just gone immune to us, but we've been trying to move effectively without wasting the funds. And it just takes time. I mean, I appreciate the discussions and tours, right? I mean, we've talked to the planner, we've had, you know, a couple of different people in the office, but it's just pretty strategic on how we wanted to go. I didn't feel that it was great to blow through an extra $3,000 and then be like, sorry, you know,
Yeah.
used it for something you didn't intend it for.
well, the 30 that's budgeted, I mean, it doesn't sound like we're going to be using that in this fiscal year for any downtown project. Is that probably true, Tor?
I don't know. I mean, you've gotta apply for the grant.
We only have 3 months left of this fiscal.
Right, yeah, no, so I'm just saying, you know, let's just throw out some hypotheticals. I guess, you know, if we could, make some grant application, you know, by June, say something like that, you know, May or June. And then, yep, you know, I don't know, the state's gotta review this stuff and then award money. You know, it may not, go into action, you know, goes out to RFP and we get the RFP back. So, yeah, I mean, I think half the year's up. It's not, you have the potential to use money
Right.
out of this budget.
So in which
So
case-
maybe you're only speculating half of what might be. Well, like I said, it's kind of, it's the suggestion or the gesture or, you know, what we're trying to do. Put money.
what I'm trying to figure out is, do we need to get the Liberty Street culvert engineering done?
Yes.
So we don't want to delay that
Yeah.
at this point.
Exactly.
If you need to get that done, then go ahead and use what you need to out of that line item,
Make that happen.
right? He's reading ahead.
No, I'm just thinking of places to.
Oh, to put that.
squirrel.
Yeah. So. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, Rob can't see what we're doing. What's
Wait,
up, Rob?
Let Rob talk. Ben's gonna follow up here.
I was gonna say, so we can match piece of a grant. You know, we do have in the public services report, the consultation. It's not exactly planning consultation, but might be the appropriate place, put some money, some more money.
Yeah.
That just came to mind.
The one thing I would say, and then jump to you, Ben, is that whatever we're doing, if we're talking about something that we're allocating to get something going, we should be in a place where it's gonna roll over. So that we're not, adding to the undesignated fund balance that we're trying to draw down.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I'm trying to do in the budget, but I also want to keep it in a place where it's clear as to what it is. Anyway, but Ben.
That's a really great point. Maybe we should have a reserve for. We call it, you know. Village center. Planning.
Trying to not go too many of those up, but
Let's see what Ben. Curious.
I was just gonna suggest that. Well, the question is. An idea
yeah.
for a plan.
Roll on forward here.
Hi.
Share on.
All I was gonna say is that, with
with an idea in mind, but not a specific plan of like exactly how to spend the money. The two questions that always come to mind, I guess, are does it have to be a line item? I think of the I think of it, I would think of it as a reserve account, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I would think of it as a reserve account. And that's just me. But then my second question, probably the more important question is this money that has to be raised in taxes this year? Or is this something that, you know, we have an undesignated fund balance that we could
Funding.
fund it with
Yeah.
without raising more money in taxes, and it accomplishes the goal of putting some money towards it. It accomplishes, you know, the goal that Tor stated of being aspirational and working towards, and it shows DOT that we're serious, and it shows the town we're serious. And I think that might be a good way to think about it.
One of the ideas, and again, not to jump ahead to potentially next week when we're talking more about undesignated fund balance, but the good question really for Ben, because I've been racking my brain trying to figure out how to think about undesignated fund balance and how to spend undesignated fund balance and allocate undesignated fund balance. And I almost kind of feel like by warrant article or those, so if there's a warrant article to say, does the town, you know, move to move $30,000 out of the undesignated fund balance to a reserve account for future planning work to blah, 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 blah. And it's a yay or nay thing. And then it's clear it's in the, we're not raising taxes for it. We're moving undesignated fund balance into a reserve account to be used for that. And it's just clear as to what it is. And then each one of those, you know, does the town vote to move X number of dollars out of undesignated fund balance to offset some of the capital projects this year? You know what I mean? Or to, you know, because of increases or whatever. But rather than just having one warrant article saying, does the town wish to move $300,000, $400,000 out of the undesignated fund balance to lower the tax, the mill rate? I think that's a bad question. I think that's like not a great use of. It's not a great way to look at that undesignated fund balance. I think it's better to look at it that way. But there'd be no problem with breaking out articles like that, would there, for moving undesignated fund balance that you can see?
No, I think that's absolutely appropriate. And personally, I would say that
So
this is personal opinion, that asking a warrant article that says exactly what you just said, move X number of dollars from undesignated fund balance to lower the mill rate is the worst use
it's the worst,
Yeah.
it's the worst.
of
question.
undesignated fund balance.
And
That
it
means
does-
that you have done a bad budget.
It doesn't capture where we're putting that money either. And so I think that would be the place, that would be the way to use it.
Mhm.
And then again, we're capturing that money in that place and not throwing it back into undesignated fund balance. And then it's a piece, we've got, say, 30 grand for that purpose. And if select boards down the road never happens, and select boards down the road are like, why is this here? I mean, it can be taken back out of that by warrant article as well. So it's not like the money's gone or locked to that specific thing. It just needs voter approval to.
Yeah, I think we want to get voter approval. It's not hidden in.
Right.
And B, it creates the conversation, which is exactly what we need in this case. We need conversation. We need people to understand what this is, what's going on. And we don't need surveyors to show up, it's a traffic study going. Then all of a sudden people saying, hey, what are you doing? Oh yeah, we're replanning all of downtown. Wait, how did we know about that? Oh, it's been in the budget, you just haven't known it. So I agree, I think anytime that we can talk about it and raise awareness is the way to approach. I think we're hearing, you know, reserve, some kind of reserve and warrant it in reserve, I think is a good idea. The question, so here's what I think also, time isn't on our side, so this isn't like, as this ages, it gets better. It's kind of like the broadband thing, there's a ton of money out there right now. The best chance to use it is probably, it's got a shelf life. It's not to say there's not gonna be more money in the future, but if there's any time that was probably best, it would probably be right now, just because of all of those sort of.
It was, it's not one of those things where the more money we put aside, the less money we're gonna get at the match.
Yeah.
The state's not gonna look at what we have and preserve where that we can look at the project is, they're gonna fund it. So it's in our best interest to be thoughtful about what we're actually. But
I think what's gonna happen is if we did this, we created a warrant, we said there's this much money in there for planning, doing whatever we call this thing. And then when we get the real numbers back, then we have to either, like I said, go to special town meeting and say, hey, we need this. And it's kind of like the discussion that we had in planner. And we wanted to fund the, how much money was on the workshop, and the planning initiative, which is, hey, we got to do this, this is the idea. It's gonna be- and I think we need that kind of presence with this. It's like, yeah, this is a big deal. We need to have time to discussion.
If I can just say one more thing. I think the establishment of a reserve account is really not a bad idea, simply because it's unlikely that it's going to be a one shot and done project. I don't think it's going to be a situation where we're able to do literally everything we want to do with one amount of money at one time.
Yeah.
It's going to be an ongoing project. It could take 20 years
Yeah.
to get all the parts and pieces into place. And so I think having that reserve account that we can put money in and take money out over time and go to the voters and say, we've got some extra money in undesignated fund. This might be a good home for it. These are the projects that are upcoming in the next 5 years. It is a long range thing. And more than likely, even with the talks of the DOT and the Village Initiative Project, it's probably going to be a phased thing anyway. Phase 1, phase 2, who knows? But it's unlikely we're going to be able to raise enough money to do literally everything we want to do in one project.
Absolutely. I agree.
In
I
the interest
think-
of getting,
yeah.
I was gonna say, in the interest of getting Seth out of here.
Yeah, I think I think
Go on with this.
we'll put that number figure and where we put that to next week.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah,
into
let's do that.
those things. I think that's a better place.
So should we carry, we'll carry, go ahead, Rob.
But I think that the idea of designated funds, I like the idea of using it for the town, rather than lower the mill rate. And while funds are fungible, that's the way I look at it. And so I think that's one of it.
Yeah, I agree. So I think back to the actual numbers here, we'll keep the department head's recommendation of 10,000, I think.
And
Up.
go ahead with the Liberty Street culvert engineering.
Move that forward.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come up with a plan.
No,
Down.
well, are we doing line by line, or are you just going to whatever's changing much here?
Next section, do you all have any questions about electricity for sand salt shed maintenance?
No, other than the fact that it's peanuts, but
Staying for-
but we can certainly, we don't need $600 for electric, but it's
We
only
don't-
$600.
I don't know.
I have not plugged things in very much this year. It's been warm.
No,
So it's
Yeah.
just an allowance for what we have
Yep.
up there. It's not,
so,
we haven't run the lights very much.
no, it's reflected in what we've spent this year. All right.
so no
Snow,
questions on Facilities. Next section's winter operations. Seth, do you want to go through?
Yep.
The changes?
Road is just a contractual agreement that this is our last year for that agreement. So that was an increase. We're in the second year of the 2-year option for the downtown section, so that was just a contractual increase. There was nothing, outside of that. The permits are there to cover in the event. So the permit covers the DEP permit. It also allows us to be a partner to Damascotta in the event that the charge to the use of the area that we push the snow over comes to fruition. And there's just, I'll leave it like this. There's just a lot of politics associated with that right now. So,
so we should leave it even though we don't ever spend the extra. amount.
yes, you absolutely want to leave it just in case.
Yep.
But it's been increased,
No.
Nope.
Permits. Miscellaneous operations, for winter operations.
well, it says permit snow removal is up. Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Year to date, sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, and all I did is that miscellaneous, we typically had like $1,500. It was 2,000 that we had the year before, it was $1,500 that we had to deal. If you think of any miscellaneous items for winter stuff that is non-budgeted for, the ice buildup down here on this bridge on Pleasant Street. That's part of the engineering that we're gonna have as we address that. Blocked culverts, roadway drainage in the middle of the winter that comes across, and then we end up having to grade the ice off as a result of. Things that are just nuisance items that aren't part of snow removal, but we get calls on that we have to deal with, that's what that line item is.
We didn't spend any of it this year, or we just haven't been billed for it this year?
No,
Because it's 0 year to date.
oh, then, no, I have not, because I haven't had any ice down here, and I haven't had any block culverts. But I don't want to get rid of it because next year you're gonna get hit with it. The prior year, we were out with a grader like 4 or 5 times. And we ended up doing, that's why I created the line item. So it's just an insurance policy. I appreciate the fact that we don't want to unnecessarily budget, but the flip side, I don't want to be caught without having the ability to do it. And for $3,500, I think it's pretty cheap insurance.
Yeah.
But that's what that line item is. That's the definition of it, or that's why it's used. Salt is flat. We've been pretty consistent with right around. I really hope that we've hit the ceiling on this. We covered it last year, and I feel pretty confident that we're gonna cover it again, so I kept it flat. Coal patch, I have some stuff that I need to do this spring, so that will definitely be impacted. Again, just know that this is insurance stuff. It's not something that I can tell you. We use 100% of it every year, but we do have some years we have more call for it than others. So I hate to take it to 0 and then be back at you. At least I have a little bit to move. Grading is basically up just due to cost. I have added gravel. I added 200 yards. We've really worked hard over the last 4 or 5 years getting the amount of gravel on our gravel roads to a sustainable level. This puts us at 1,400 yards through all the gravel roads. That's a decent amount to cover our real wet spots and to work with. We are making some very small strides on our base to some of these dirt roads, so I don't want to lose it. It's very important that we keep this going. I have, we're blending basically some 1.5 and 3/4 gravel. Has been working very well. This is just a continuation of where we're at, really. And we're also still continuing the grading process. We do it twice a year. So we do it in the fall and we do it in the spring. The reason we haven't spent the money that you're seeing is left from this last year is all of our heavy gravel installations is in the spring.
Figured. And the grading part is going up just because fuel's up or such, or is there some other project?
The grading is going up because, to be frank with you, the number of people that can do it is dying.
Great.
And the guy that does it is really, really good. But we've had to change some cost on that. Grading is up for every town that we're doing. It's not just Newcastle. I mean, it's a niche, and a good grader operator is worth his weight in gold. That's really why it's going up. It's a specialty thing. I've got more hours in there as well. That's another reason that the prices is because with the extra yardage requires more time. So I do have extra hours in there. But it's really been, I don't know. I mean, I think the number of complaints that we have this year, granted it was a light winter, but has been dramatically cut down on our dirt roads. So we're seeing some of this work. Roadside mowing was the same. Catch basin cleaning, I actually dropped that. What I had received for projected increases from the year before, for whatever reason, I don't know why, didn't come to fruition. They didn't bill us as much. So I said, okay, if you're not gonna bill us as much, I reduced that. Line striping, I held flat. Street sweeping is up by $500. Again, basically just cost of fuel and labor. Tree work, I did increase the tree work line item. We do get basically a line itemized hourly worksheet from Aspen to come and do all of our work. They do a very good job. Those rates have just gone up. I carried some additional money there to make sure that we were able to continue with our tree clearing. That line item also covers the roads. If you go down in the description, you'll see it'll say tree work. So I have Timberlane, Cochrane, East Old County, and South Iron Neck roads they're going to be the target areas for the tree clearing this year. Much to the effect on the crack filling line item, Lynch, Lewis Hill. So all the roads that we have basically done our pavement surface treatment to have been a continuous cycle of getting crack filled. The same goes for this year. We had a significant overage last year in that line item, primarily because it's a petroleum-based product and we saw an increase in that cost. So I increased it again to keep with our program. The next one, the labor equipment line items are our general use line items. I will be remiss to tell you every little thing that we use this. We use this line item for a random complaint. We use this line item for requests for our services, Pumpkin Fest. We use this line item for storm damage, cleanup, tree removal, setting up traffic control in conjunction with the fire department, stuff like that. Anything that we do that we recognize the need to go and get something with a piece of equipment, that's what comes out of these line items. These are literally a maintenance line item that we use to successfully do all the little stuff in town.
So before you went, line 24, the bridge maintenance, you said this is actually what the work is that's gonna be done on the South Arroneck Road Bridge?
Yep, and I
Okay.
apologize just because it's out of sequence on my spreadsheet on the
Oh,
bottom,
okay.
but that line item is 10740 212
Wait a
is
minute.
South Dire Neck Bridge.
Nope, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at a $20,000.
Yep, that's what it is.
He was talking about the budget.
Sorry, it's my
I was gonna
budget
say,
line.
I don't see $100,000.
Oh,
No, it's my line budget. I
Got it, got it.
apologize. It's
So what-
I think it's line 51 or do you have?
It's 24 on ours.
Yep, it's
Okay.
24, sorry. I didn't put that budget code in, Seth, because I'm not sure if it's available or not.
Oh,
So I
okay,
have to
all right.
carry it
Sorry,
forward.
my
Yeah,
bad.
Nope, no
No problem.
worries.
That-
So what's the work that's gonna be done there?
Okay, so the report was forwarded to you folks a couple months back from the engineer that we got from South Dire Neck Road. And basically, it's some ionizing components on the bridge that need to be re-welded back on to help combat the salt corrosiveness in the water. It's doing some slope work on the sides needs to be done. Basic cleaning needs to be done. I can get you the exact list. There's like
Yep.
7 items. The total for the engineer's estimate came to 18. I carried 20 because, as I mentioned before, that estimate was done in July of last summer.
Yep.
And I'm afraid some prices may have changed between July of last summer and the summer.
Nope, that's okay. Just was curious. All right.
Sorry about that. Yeah, for
problem.
me, I labeled it as my budget line item 12, so that's why I gave you the wrong number. I apologize.
No problem.
The culverts, that culvert line item is where we cover for Island Road. That's where we buy the physical culverts to put into the road. Everything else is pretty much stayed status quo. These are just continuation of items that we've been building up over time that I use. Street signs obviously cover stuff that gets stolen, misplaced, run over, damaged throughout the course of the year. Miscellaneous signage covers our road postings, covers our temporary stuff that we use for Pumpkin Fest. Things like that nature. If we had to temporarily post stuff, that's what that miscellaneous signage item is. And our street sign line item actually covers not only signs, but we actually post some labor to that as well for requests for replacements. We posted that on it. there isn't really anything, you know, catastrophic that I saw that was over the top. Basically, it's fuel and material driven. There's not contractually driven. The only thing, as we've already discussed in length, is that technical assistance line items is fairly arbitrary. I don't have a set quote from that. That's just field experience knowledge, hoping that we can get something going on that for that amount of money, you know, and if we run into huge overruns, I'm gonna bring it back to Sarah for you guys to bring up, but it gives me a place to start with that down there.
Looks good.
So if you all are okay, I'll put in Seth's recommendations, carry it over. And select board recommendations. Revisit the whole budget one more time next week, and if there are any changes, we'll make. Great,
Thank you, Seth.
thank you, Seth.
You're more than welcome. Absolutely, anytime. Please feel free to reach out. There any questions or anytime you have. We'll get a couple of small little projects to do this spring, so that'll be good to hopefully get before the budget and we'll be off and running for this year. Should be pretty good. Good enough?
The weather's warming up for you to get out there.
Oh,
and do
yeah, I hope so.
The change of season stuff.
Absolutely. But here, if you guys need anything anytime, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay?
Thank you,
Thanks.
Seth.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
So we starting back at the top?
I was thinking we would maybe knock off the quick and easy ones first. Maybe start in order from easiest to will potentially involve the most amount of conversation, if you all are okay with that. Maybe begin with debt services, move to revenue, and then move to admin. Okay, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so debt services, this is gonna
For
be
the
a
back.
a quick Band-Aid is staying flat. The loan payments that we have are still for the fire truck. The quoted payoff for that is in 2027. And then the other is the Academy Hill bond that you all initiated back in 2019.
So could you get a payoff, just out of curiosity? So when we talk about the undesignated fund balance, just so we could throw into the discussion, maybe paying off that truck loan.
And what the interest rate is too.
It's down here, it's 4.19.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not great.
No, so and if we owe 100 grand on it or something, we can have the conversation. Maybe we do nothing, but
Sure.
at least we would know what the payoff is.
Yeah, let me get that updated figure.
Okay.
It looks back in 2018, it was still, it
Yeah.
was 498.
Right.
But that's obviously changed.
Yeah.
Substantially. So, yep, let me pull that. for
Yeah,
you.
because we have 4 calendar years left, I guess, 23, 24, 5 and 6. Yeah, and then we paid off in 27. So 4 calendar years of payments left.
Right.
Which should put a little over 100,000 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patient schedule's probably must.
Right, it might not. Yes,
How about a specific one that-
Hank, you might as well hang it up there now.
What?
I said you might as well hang out there now.
Okay. I've never understood, but I've never really been able to get a clear answer, and maybe there isn't one, but is there a healthy debt ratio for a town to carry? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because I know the answer is not zero. Yeah, I'm, yeah, I mean, it's one of those numbers that it was so high for so long, and now it's virtually nothing. So I'm more curious than anything, and moving towards the idea of, like we've already talked about some of, like Seth was saying, we have some big questions ahead of us and some major planning to do. So what are the minimum maximum levels of a healthy debt ratio look like in terms of the 10-year plan?
What that figure is digit feedback.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What? How long? do you want to have that? Do you have things in the future, if you max out bond rating, you would fall behind on things?
Mhm.
It is a question, but as far as professional recommendation, what that percentage should be.
It's a good place to start the conversation.
Yep.
I've never known it.
It's
And
got-
if Seth is going to be wrapping up some work, and then we're in that period of time where it's like, well, major expenses of rebuilding all the really bad roads are kind of behind us. Then we're transitioning into a different mindset.
Yeah,
So-
we were talking about this last year too, which is eventually we'll get to the top of it.
Right.
Sort of.
Well, I mean, even imagine next year we come to this meeting and instead of the number that we're looking at for capital, it's a tenth of that.
Right.
Because we're just into maintenance cycle on the roads, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And that could happen. I mean, it
We
probably
can
won't,
dream.
but we can dream, right? But I'm saying at some point, the goal, the plan was always that we weren't going to
Yeah.
be pushing these large numbers forever,
Right.
right? It was at some point we were going to crest and like, oh, good. The roads are in really good shape. We crack seal them every year. We're into a 15-year sort of, maintenance plan, and we're not looking at shelling out big bucks every year.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
No, we should know that. Good point. Good question.
Can we can't argue about the municipal county budget?
I mean,
No.
You can complain about it. I mean. It's almost. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
so
There we
you'll
go.
see a substantial projected decrease in municipal revenue. And this is almost solely because I did not recommend moving any money. on balance and offset. That's with the assumption that we're going to have a follow-up conversation and move undesignated fund balance into capital projects and reserves. Rather than continue to move money to offset. So historically, for the past few years, you all have voted to allocate
Last page.
$220,000 a year. And our municipal revenue has come in so much higher than projected that money fund balance is never actually been fixed. This last year, you voted to transfer $250,000 from undesignated, and it's looking like we actually will, unsure. Start collecting. For the past months. So. Number will shift. But. The only other change, other than. The undesignated fund balance not in this section, is just. So, other than that, not a big shift.
That was Joel. by the way.
That was
Yeah,
me.
Cool.
That was me.
So, wait a minute, maybe I'm misunderstanding. So things like, the education subsidy, you're showing down.
That is in the state revenue. So I'm.
Oh,
talking-
you're just doing the top
Yep,
part. Okay,
yep.
let me go back up there. Okay, I thought you meant the whole thing. No, no, no. So I had a couple, so again, if we're talking philosophical. How accurate do we want to try to be in forecasting revenue? If we go really low on everything, not really low. If we go low on everything, we end up with more money coming in, it then goes into undesignated fund balance. So how? My inclination is always, let's try to get accurate. But I don't know how other people feel, because to me, some things could be adjusted up 1,000 to 10,000, whatever. I mean, we can, or up or down. Go, yeah,
Don't mind.
yeah, go
For
ahead.
one, it's so difficult. to
It is.
estimate What our revenue actually is going to be. So
Yep.
it's always safer to slightly underestimate revenue so that your expenses don't majorly outweigh your revenue problems.
Yep.
However,
Mhm.
this town, in the past several years, in hopes of increasing our undesignated fund balance, because there were so many years that there was slim to no money in undesignated fund balance, has been over project or under project, over projecting revenue as a trend. If you want to tighten up on that, then yes.
Or under projecting.
Under-projecting.
Yeah, I know, it's a negative, it's a double negative or, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
The under projecting was more because we didn't know what. There was a lot of state stuff that we didn't know. So,
Right,
So it wasn't, that we were really trying to build that undesignated fund balance. It happened as a windfall, but the things weren't as bad as we thought they were gonna be. Because there were threats that there were gonna be.
Yeah.
The revenue sharing and a lot of stuff was gonna be pretty bad during Nate, your administration.
And
we
it
had,
always
so.
still has the potential to be true. We've been really lucky the past couple of years to see,
Mhm.
our state revenue sharing has gone up substantially, the education subsidy has gone up substantially. Those figures can change with state budget.
Mhm.
So what you feel comfortable projecting for those figures.
Yeah, whatever. Well, I mean, we just start with the big one, the motor vehicle excise tax. So it's been over $400,000 almost every recent year, except for the year COVID hit. And then the next year it bumped up because people then came in. So but still, I would say we're averaging well over $400,000 a year. And this year would project to go to what?
Seven.
And does it come in fairly consistently throughout the year?
It does. We do tend to have a rush. A little bit,
So,
it's, you can't really.
but if it's fairly consistent, then we would be projected to go over $400,000 this year as well. So, I mean, it's only like whatever, if we said $400,000, we're talking a $20,000 difference here. But again, I mean, does it, in the scheme of things, do we want to worry about 20,000? Seems like we wouldn't. But I don't know, Ben, you've got a lot more history. I like to be accurate, but some of these things I know they're up and down.
I honestly, I love these numbers because, you know, years ago, I remember like we're not at state revenue, but like state revenue sharing. I remember one year we got $33,000. Right?
Yeah.
And we're looking at, year to date of 750.
Right.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But
I like it better now.
I'm with Sarah. Motor vehicles, you cannot predict. Literally, you cannot predict. I think if we put a graph on it over the last 20 years, it rose sharply a couple different times, and it's never gone down. But that, again, that's impossible to predict. You don't know.
I mean, the price of vehicles go up every year, so that's part of it, but I mean, it's gonna
Yeah.
trend up
Right.
based on the cost of the vehicle.
But with fewer people buying because they're more expensive, does it even out?
Right.
Those are the kind of, you don't want to.
Right.
So I hear what you're saying, but the trend, and I agree with Sarah on this, you want to go as conservatively as possible on revenues.
But that just then, because we've been
It's
conservative.
a better problem to have. If you overtax, and you build your undesignated fund balance because you've been conservative on your revenues, you put that money into projects that benefit the town. That's how it works.
We have this all up. Does end. But let's say we have a year where having in revenue and we don't have any money to transfer. That doesn't speak to that. We want to make sure that and we're not being. Because there are so many variables.
In that case, we don't have to.
Right.
Well, not necessarily. The board can can do a tan, but we lived in that world for a long, long time. And we don't want to do that.
No.
So, no, we don't want to go back to that. We're comfortable where we're at, I think, and the problems that we have with the budget are good problems to have.
And as a tax anticipation. of
Oh, no.
essentially borrow
No.
money that you're predicting you're going to be getting in tax payments, but pay interest, so it's very expensive.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay, so well, riddle me one more that just humor me. Cable franchise fees.
Yep.
Why, when we get over $14,000 every year, can we not have that be $14,000? But that's gonna make it go up. Well, who do we have to say kill to get this done? But I know, I mean, this has been dragging a long time. So whoever is able to exert influence to get this done, please do.
It's overdue. I remember it was like my second year on the board. We signed a 10-year contract.
Hmm.
I didn't know what I was doing at the time, so
Yeah.
I never would have signed a 10-year contract.
Uh,
I know, but I still wouldn't have. I would have pushed harder if I had known more. Let's put it that way.
It's like a 10-year contract and it expired how long ago?
I don't know exactly, but
A year and a half
a
ago.
little while ago.
We're working on it. It's negotiation. But that's the reason I.
It would be a bad contract if it goes down.
So,
Okay.
so the school fund balance, what is that?
Which line?
It's got zero, so I guess it's non, it's
Oh,
kind of
it's
an, I'm just curious, I'm trying to get educated.
Yeah. There were two separate incidents that led to the creation of that. To be honest with you, it's a long, complicated story that we really don't need to go into and rehash. Just taxes were kind of done wrong. The actual final calculation was done a little bit wrong. One time it was done wrong in the town of Newcastle, and the other year it was done wrong in the superintendent's office. And we had to move money to make it right.
Mhm.
And so that's how it happened. But that was a long time ago.
So does it make sense to keep these lines? I mean, I'm just,
That one
Yeah.
can probably go. Yeah.
That's really just. Show budget. You'll see a couple also. That can circle back on, get that right after this, because we have two different lines for report secretaries. And it's better. So there are lines in this budget that you'll see are here, just so that you can see historically that they existed, but they haven't necessarily.
well, yeah, we've talked about this briefly before, and I think if there's ghosts in the closet and we don't need them there anymore, let's get rid of it. I mean, it's part of our task. Here, so we make sure this thing is efficient.
Yeah.
Clean.
Both of those and the supplemental taxes underneath it too.
It does. It's another question I've always had and never been able to get a good answer on, but how many years prior should you be looking at?
Right.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of towns really go a max of 3.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, not much.
Yes, five, it's five.
Yeah, I like more. Yeah.
And then I think your financial software program always. But I like 5 for. This.
I think so too.
Yeah, this is good.
One, 3,
No,
5 is a little more helpful.
well, especially 3 because of COVID. Things got weird, so that throws it off. What is a snowmobile reimbursement? We're making a killing on snowmobile reimbursements. Line 22.
Is that is it like that program that we had to do with plumbing permits? You don't know that, were you? We had a weird thing in town where you'd go and you'd put $100 deposit on your plumbing permit. Like if you're doing a project that required plumbing, and then you'd be assessed the plumbing permit fee, and then you'd be reimbursed the $100. It was
Yeah,
Oh,
no, from the
geez.
town. It was insane.
that's
Yeah.
it's like
It was nuts.
buying a house.
It was awful. Yeah. You remember that? These $100 were like, it was in and out, in and out, in and out of every warrant
Oh.
But I
for
mean, we-
years. It was awful.
But we had
Yeah.
expenditures last year in it.
Let me follow up with Jody
Okay.
on where that comes from, but since we're there, let's move down to the state. records. So what the state is actually projected, our state revenue is going to be this year, it's $360,000.
So
Wait,
they've
say that one
given,
more time?
307.
Okay.
I put in 300 because we historically under budgeted that just. The past few years, we've gotten more than projected. Years before that, we have. Always try to. work On that, but it's a large.
do we get, how is it paid to us? Do we get a check monthly or?
We do, yep, not monthly, you get one check.
Okay, so they get, so we've gotten all the money we're gonna get this year, you think?
Well, I need to pull back what. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think so. I need to look back. I think we still have one. more.
Okay,
For education, probably, right? For the
Yeah,
fourth
for-
quarter of education.
Yes, that's the.
that's a
other
different one.
Really sizable number. That's another sub-state. The state had put out a number initially that I just got a correction on. Though our figure goes down from what we received last year, it's still increased by 41,000. What the state had initially put out. So that number is exact. We always put in exactly what. Yeah, for projections for education. we are- But those are two of our biggest states. In addition to.
What's a bet? What's a BETE?
Um, It's a program.
Yeah, no, I get asked that. I've been asked that several times. I can never remember that one.
It's essentially a program that isn't aligned. with spending and- but what people are-
It's not a big number.
Business equipment taxes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Rob. Your computer works
Ah.
down there, huh?
Jim calls it the Betty.
Betty.
And then the tree growth reimbursement, what is that based on? Does anybody know that?
Right, how much, so people put their property.
Yep.
And receive money back from the state.
Okay, so it's based on our acreage. Okay,
When they pay to, if someone pays to take their property out of tree growth, do we give that back to the state?
No,
We keep it?
we get it.
Whoa, that's a pretty good deal.
Not really, because the formula isn't, it's not like a 1-to-1. You don't pay all the back taxes.
So, so this, I would think that number would be a little bit more consistent. It's gone up.
Yeah.
Quite a bit this year to date, I'm just looking.
the tree
but
growth part,
Why is that? Why
Oh,
is that
sorry.
tree growth.
tree growth?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Valuation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
the town's worth more.
So why, then,
Maybe we-
and why would our projection should go up then, really? Isn't that gonna be pretty reliable number?
Jim would say, and I'm guessing, Jim would say, give it a B.
Give it a what?
Give it a beat.
Like wait a year. see what
Wait a year.
happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We don't know. how much they Take their property up to growth. Statistically, Newcastle also has a lot of property.
29.7% last time I checked
Really? Almost 30%
of the acreage,
Yeah.
Wow.
40 square miles.
roughly.
None of it's on my property.
A lot in Tree Grove.
On my 0.9
All right,
acres.
so we'll wait a beat. Is
Okay.
that kind of lumped in with, I assume there's a similar program with, farmland?
Farmland, open space. Yep, there's several different programs.
That though, I. Yeah, up a lot. Okay, instead.
No.
Basically.
Well, you guys are talking me out of it.
Well, I mean, Jim is, last time I talked to him, he was, concerned in the, no project. He doesn't want to project.
Right.
But there's always the concern of like, yeah, we had a big, we're in the middle of a market correction. Are we going to have another market correction in the other direction? We don't know.
Yeah.
So until things stabilize, I keep pushing him. Come on, give me better numbers. And he's like, no.
Well, last I heard though, we were way below, we were at 70%.
Yeah, of value to market.
Evaluate where we should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that, to me, that says that we're not gonna correct 30%. That's,
No, you can't. You can't. Yeah. So
we're gonna, correction 10%. Hopefully.
and
If
it, and,
we
it,
can
and,
afford
it- and
things.
it's a bet, it's a gamble on what the market's actually gonna do.
I mean, it did in 2008, it crashed.
No, I know, yeah,
That was, but that was the last.
we're
time.
not there though.
No.
Like, hopefully.
Any other questions? Are you all ready to move on to admin?
Yeah.
Change in the food safety section that, in my opinion, warrants too much discussion, unless there are questions, is I did pay $500 for a people. He's been filling out because our harbor master owns in Oyster Farm, he can't sign off on it. So we did send her to harbor master training, he's been signing off on his permits in order also to cover him for any insurance reimbursements that may be needed, like he's out in tow placing buoys for the town for warrants. We need to offer him compensation.
Question, why, so full-time that's deputy. Okay, harbor master, but there's no deputy. We don't,
There's no line for it.
There's
Oh,
no.
we're not.
I typed it, but I can split it out.
are we paying deputy?
We have not ever. reached that.
Okay, I'm just curious, I mean, okay.
The rest of the changes are contractual changes and.
Which we've already talked about.
Going into the fringe benefit section. There's a sizable increase because we have received a projected, we were told the budget for the 10% increase in our open term rates, in addition to having another full-time salary. So that's the reason, pretty much. staff, and.
So the treasurer tax collector line that's, we moved to a full-time position. And so our,
But there's no benefits for that position.
That's correct, but they do budget for that because they always have the opportunity to.
That's a pain. Yeah.
and
Yes,
they
I
have
do.
it in
Mhm.
Uh,
Which is what's so frustrating.
It's
about
halfway
it.
through the year.
Yeah, they're on a calendar year, we're on a fiscal. So if your sign up period is December, so if we didn't budget for it and they decide that they want.
Did we budget for half a year of it though? I mean, might as well, if they can't get on it until June.
They could.
Oh.
There could be a qualifying reason.
Yes,
for
yeah,
them
yeah. I was
to-
just about to say that too.
Yeah.
I just remembered that too. Ah, and again, if not, then it's, $25,000 or whatever it is that's the undesignated fund balance. Oh, well, okay. That's a hard one. You can't solve that.
It's a hard one.
They sure are. What's the big jump in the vision dental line 14?
Yeah, same. Oh, so the reason that has a big jump is that budget used to be town manager cafeteria benefits. So that was a line that was cheap. Previous town manager contract, its benefits were folded that exists. We have several individual budget lines, vision, dental, and life that this been folded into the health insurance line, budget codes never. So I added the totals of our vision, dental, life insurance and put them. in. We've always paid that. It's been,
Okay.
and I wanted to split that.
Just, it's proper accounting. then. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Contracted services. We do have an increase for our audit rate, which is last fiscal year.
Are you talking about line 22?
Yes.
So we're paying for audits that aren't happening?
We do have a contract though, so we have a contract for the last.
So wait, help me remember. An audit was done last summer, but we don't have the report.
Yeah.
Is that the correct?
incorrect.
When was the last audit done?
Last audit was done for FY 21. Yes,
No.
FY 20, yep, FY 21. That's the one that we have. And that they need to come now that FY 22 is closed out and do FY 22. We're presently in FY. We're making the.
Oh,
budget
okay,
for
yeah. That's why it goes. to-
So it seems like forever since we've had an audit presentation though. We're not behind?
No, There's for less this year
so
we
we
are.
are.
It's-
Yes,
Yes.
we received our audit report in summer. They came to perform the audit of the closeout of the fiscal year last.
Okay.
And then we received the report. So they haven't come to the. But that audit report. Closed out. They always audit the year's
Yep.
financials that you just finished.
Right. Okay.
And then
So we're not, I always feel like we're way off schedule, but we're not really.
No, we are.
We are.
We're way up.
we're,
We should have had this presentation when?
well, not the presentation, but they.
The results.
Historically, they always came in the fall and we received results. in summer.
Or, yeah, and we had thing, yeah.
So they haven't come yet to do the audit, and gather the information. We may still have the report. I'm not sure, but I don't have it on the schedule.
I'm still.
Well, you have to remember that it's a fiscal year, not a calendar year,
Yep.
which is hard because you're
Yes.
off by 6 months, right?
Right.
But to be honest with you, our previous audit company, there was a patch of really bad years where we didn't get the audit report until well after town.
Yeah. No, but we're in that.
And we're in that now.
We're in-
Yeah, which is
We just haven't had the actual audit done.
the actual audit.
It's for F1. We have all the paperwork, we filed everything. It's just- We did that.
And they given us anything?
Last time I talked to them, they're in the same boat. The problem, it's a twofold problem. COVID actually like knocked a lot of people kind of out of the profession. So there just aren't that many people doing municipal audit services anymore. Literally in the state, there's quite a few less.
Not
And
even
so
anything.
the work is, it's like the same in a lot of fields. They're just too much work and not enough people to do it.
All right, so my next suggestion then was not gonna work. I was gonna say.
Well, you could go to a different audit service, but you'd probably find yourself in the same.
No,
position.
that wasn't gonna suggest a different audit service. I was gonna say maybe there needs to be something in the contract with hard and fast dates in it with penalties, but if there's no one to do the work, then it doesn't sound like that's gonna get us, that doesn't sound feasible either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, right, so that
They,
won't work.
they just wouldn't bid on them.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just kind of screwed.
Estimated, I have a quote for recommendation, so that includes, current rate for half the year and then projected 5% increase.
What line are we on?
This whole section 23 through 38.
Yep,
yeah.
that's line 23.
Yep.
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 The other increase, computer software, just think, store it, data. Or
How come we're changing the format of our town report? In your notes, you said you're going to an 8x11.
oh, that was already done. Well, that was a.
Okay, so we're not changing it. Okay,
not
good.
changing.
Okay.
But that did it.
Okay. Is the records restoration gonna happen this year?
I've been talking to staff about that. And we need to get more. So that was it. Professional development, piece I budgeted it.
Yep, makes sense.
Wow.
Do we? We need $1,000 for mileage.
I would be afraid. to not have it. Did have a year to that. I also am assuming that based on conversations I've had, we're going to start seeing staffs. So I would want to, let's then.
What types of things are they doing?
Yeah, the code enforcement officer. Logging mileage. Whenever I go to a meeting in Rockford, I log it, whenever, we have a staff member, well, the training, they should be logging in.
Yep.
And we always make sure we're always at the.
No. Okay, so I see, it's mostly, you're talking code enforcement, and that would definitely add up.
And I hope that we. The next section, this is a question I have for all of you. We budgeted this year to get a mail machine for the office, which it's postage and then you can just put
the mail straight in mailbox. We have a mailbox still technically, so we can still, we could go to the post office, but it would be nice if we could have those on site. Try and figure out post office how we can get. Oh. Slot, that's like, that's. I'm not sure, I know they don't do slots anymore, but somehow have a secured mail delivery system so that we're getting mail to. From town office rather than, like when we have tax payments, going to the post office. twice a month. So if we were to get a postage machine and figure out how to get. It's often. If they have to go to the post office.
You mean a pickup at the?
That's what I would hope, but we have to work with the post office. But
What
this-
line-
this accounts for a posted, what's budgeted here is for a posted.
What line is this?
It's the
39.
top here, it's
Okay,
section,
got it. Yep.
Which is why it's given $5. Got it, though, but, oh.
Is this like the Pro Bowl?
Yep. And this also with this certified, so we can mail out tax bills. We can go to the, Newcastle doesn't. do it. So we always go along. To certified.
Yeah, I think this work if you've got a certain volume. maybe kind of size of it. Otherwise, there's a bunch of fees involved with those things. It's a scam, but like I said, it works if you've got the volume, saves the personnel. Totally makes sense. And so. What would the lease agreement be as far as do that known every year? Where's our, so postage and envelope is the line 24, so you would be, part of that line would be paying for funding that device
Right.
too, 'cause you have to pre-buy those credits. Exactly. Yep.
But the increase is just. So, you all are. It's a discussion.
Does it save time? That's the idea.
But it's much more.
So Shelley is not just like sticking a million stamps on envelopes.
Or, going to the post office.
Yeah, and we have a standard format that we send stuff out. That's what we do. You have a bunch of envelope sizes. No, to be honest,
You know a lot about.
I got sucked into it at one point in my office. I was like, oh, this sounds like fun. And I was like, "Hmm, nearly in a phone, do this. And I was like, "Which one am I gonna phone?" I just didn't know, at the time. A while, but anyway, it was kind of cool to have though, I gotta say, because it was like, yeah, we'll have to buy stamps. It's just.
It measures it by weight. It needs.
It's true, it does. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's only $2,500.
It's,
Maybe I'll get one. You're selling me on this, Tor. This sounds neat.
I guess, I mean, as long as it's, cost benefit works, then it sounds. Good.
Is it 1 year? What's the contract? It's a year by year, is it?
That is a year.
But of course, I. Moving now to. Discussion. Touching on, but haven't.
How is it possible that we only spent $473? Oh, because the office was closed for a bit. No, that was closed, wasn't closed in the winter.
What are you looking at?
The heating oil for 21, 22, it was so low. It's crazy. And hopefully it'll go down because of the heat pumps.
Oil was cheap.
But
Oil was cheap
Yeah,
back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
$2 a gallon.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I guess that's
The-
true.
the barrel price went to negative. Whereas, You know, it was
Yeah.
negative.
Yeah, but it during, yeah,
Yeah.
but it did.
That's right.
And then we were locked,
Yes.
right, when everything was going
Everything
up,
went-
we
Yeah.
were locked in.
That's nice.
Now we've got subject to market rate, decided not to lock. in. So. It's not just contract, it's public. Fundamental, budgeting. These are numbers similar to what we were talking about the fire department, that we haven't had enough years data.
No, we're on schedule to spend $2,400 right now if the electric stays about the same, so you're not, that's not, that's
Yeah.
right in line.
And that's exactly the same.
That's what it was spiked. Yeah.
But we might.
Depends on our other discussion too. Well, it's not there, I guess, but if we end up with solar.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
I think our entire watt hour usage in offset total for all.
But we wouldn't be locking into a rate of that, right?
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
You get, it's-
You get.
you
yeah,
get what it,
and you
if it
get
goes
what
up
you-
to $40
think if
kilowatt hour, you get it.
Net meter, they don't want you locked in.
Your electric supply is still. Your credits reduced, but you can still get your supply. You know, that you use for any supply.
Yeah, right.
But you're not net buying much.
Just you're anticipating more, using the janitorial services more.
Not projected. But that budget.
Special.
Not proposing any changes or. That's. Very. I will say I talked to him today, the area is. Going to be. The water turned back on.
We can go back to cemetery maintenance for a second. We have not been spending any money on that. late, I mean, gosh, way back, I don't know what they spent $33,000 on. Do you have memory of that, Ben or Joel?
Yeah, that was a big old oak tree that split
Yeah.
in Sheepshead Cemetery, and we had to get a crane in there to get it out, so it was gonna fall down on
Bunch of-
on the stones.
It's
It
$33,000.
was not cheap.
Holy cow.
We did a bunch, we did some more stuff in there too.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that might have been the same year that we had some other stuff on the Glidden Street Cemetery, and I don't know how much of the
which
majority of the cost was in Sheepshead Cemetery.
What year was that?
Was
19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Seth, yeah, Seth coordinates the. All the.
Yeah.
Tree work.
Right.
And they have a crane operator. It was-
It was a
it
big,
was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, everything had to get matted. and,
yeah,
um,
yeah, that was the whole thing.
Yep.
I think there even had to be some
And I think there
better
was,
access made just. So we could-
yeah, we'd build a
They
road.
built the
and-
road and then they unbuilt the road.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
they Built the road, and I think we had to repair some things and.
Well, on cemetery maintenance, I mean, I don't. Whether we have some or not, I don't know, whatever the budget number is, but just FYI, I talked to the stone guy and he's gonna try to give us a day or two in August or September. He can't make any promises, but I made him put us on the calendar for next 24 for sure, but he's gonna try to do some days. But he told me that we weren't selected for the workshop. I know. So, but whenever we do these things, though, that needs to come out of the perpetual care monies, not, we don't need to raise taxes for it. We've got all this perpetual care. As a matter of fact, probably the tree work and everything should too.
No, it would have depleted that account. I think it's, last time I checked, it was only like 24,000 or something like that.
I had all of them, but. Yeah. That was like around 30. It's close
It
to
might have
30.
been more, but
It's, yeah, it's close to 30 right now,
Right.
but yeah, but I think we should use that. That's what it's for.
I think we talked about it at the time, but
It was a big bill.
Where's that? Where's that? Perpetual care.
it's not on here.
It's.
Not in
we
our
just-
budget at all.
It's our investment accounts.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just looked at them. Where did I see them? I wasn't looking at the audit. Maybe I was. Oh, you know what? I was actually, Sarah, you're right. I was looking at something audit related. Yeah, this, all the cemetery. All the cemeteries and everything.
Can I make an awkward suggestion?
I like.
So back up to item number 1 and item number 9. Currently, you have the each member of the Board of Selectmen receiving $3,000 a year, and now we're going to be paying the harbor master more. Still, I looked back, it was FY 16-17 when we moved from paying the Board of Selectmen $7,500 a year split 5 ways to $15,000 split 5 ways. And that was in effect from 06 to, well, 16-17. So now it's going to be 7 years. Might not be a bad idea to just, I would make the recommendation because I know selectmen are reticent to suggest that they increase their own salary. So I would make the recommendation that we modestly bump that number and give each of the selectmen additional $500 a year, bringing the total to $17,500 for item number 1. If we do it gradually, it's better than coming in another 3 or 4 years saying we got to double again. No one wants to run. We're doing a whole lot more work. You know what I mean? That was a hard conversation last time. It really was.
It's a hard conversation to feel about. But, yeah,
It absolutely is, but I'd make the argument that, you guys do a lot of work. I know what goes into it. And how many people took out papers for the 2 seats that we have coming up?
2.
2. How many arms did we have to twist to get there?
Two.
Two. And I don't know, $500, an extra $500. Forearms, yeah. I know that an extra $500 a year isn't going to entice more people to run. However, the board members should be compensated, I feel. So awkward conversation. But I don't think we should wait another 3 years and go, oh, we need to double it again, 4 years, whatever. it is.
I haven't looked, but what is it generally in other towns? No?
I don't care.
Oh,
I mean, I don't. Other towns don't operate the way that we do. What's fair to compensate our board for what we do here is the question.
Yeah, then the first, it depends on.
Oh, yeah.
The first,
there's a hierarchy inside.
first select, second select.
See what you're missing, Ron?
So are we gonna call it? Or what are we doing?
That's a wrap for me, so
I mean,
we made, the only thing we're still waiting on our engagement's not taken out. And then if we want to just have a budget recap conversation next Monday, we can talk about this fund balance and make any edits that you all see with a final draft. for us.
well, when,
But we gotta revisit reserve. right?
Yeah,
are we gonna-
sure.
when
Yeah.
do we revisit
Anything you
some of the
want.
stuff that was? Wait, do that next time? So then-
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we gotta put our list together and then. We gotta kind of put our list together, we gotta look at reserves, we gotta go through that conversation. A little bit of stuff, a little bit more. And then, and how we're gonna do something that could pull some money out of. One line for another, to deal with that, and then. We're gonna should do a plan on. Line by line. Not line by line, but like. I like your look there, I like your look. But
Department
go-
by department?
Well, just going through the sections and if there's anything that people we have questions on or we want to change, we want to.
No, I mean, my
I think that's-
anticipation was that we needed basically everything.
Yeah.
Then we gotta revisit, however brief it is, summary.
Yeah, so we just gotta kind of go through it. So the homework is to take this sheet that we've got now and kind of go through and highlight the things that we do want to discuss.
That's-
And then that would be the only thing that would be changing. That would be the only thing that would be changing by next we want at the school. So. Yeah, and there's nothing else that we really,
So we would give it, well,
yes.
but we can at least,
Be ready for it.
yep, we need it.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think it would be a good place to go with everything. Again, I think that conversation of the undesignated fund balance and knowing what we're gonna pull from what to where and how we're gonna classify different things, and how we're gonna deal with different things. If, yeah, maybe if everyone could sort of think of the undesignated fund balance in that capacity for that next meeting for next week, to just sort of think about it that way, where if we're pulling money out of undesignated fund balance. And again, I'm not saying we necessarily have to have a warrant article for every single piece, but like, if we're gonna be looking at pulling some money to do some work work that needs to be done on the fire station, and work that needs to be done, this deferred maintenance line, if we're gonna be doing that. We're gonna be discussing solar. We should probably have those numbers so we can discuss that, 'cause that would be a separate number that maybe we can pull again, out of that line so that it's not gonna,
The other thing we could do, I mean, like we did last year, which is to each one of us take a section. Kind of go through each, you know. Yeah. Each item.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's what we do too, consider that, it's just somebody talks about.
For the town meeting.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, that seemed to work pretty well last year.
yeah, yep. So I think that's a good place to leave this discussion for now. And, yeah, it's great. So
Oh, yeah.
if I could put in a request for, so if anything's, so what's gonna change? What are we are we changing anything from this substantially? That you can think of right now on what we've got from tonight to what we're gonna be talking about on Monday?
Nope, but I'll make sure that I have the select board sections filled out and then making notes as we go.
But the,
through it.
but the budget numbers as far as right now are kind of, well, I mean, because we haven't had the full discussion on. I mean, I think we sort of fill out the select board ones as we, after next week, I would think, right? That's when we're gonna kind of go through and yay or nay
Some of the things, yeah.
for most of the things.
I guess my thought was just to put them in based on the discussion we've already had, and then we can go back. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, certainly some of the things, they're already there, but
Already, as we do these discussions.
Yeah.
But if they're important. But I'll just put it in.
I don't agree with that.
and
Okay.
then, yeah, and maybe get a list to you if we have some select board members, get a list to you. That way you can get some follow-up information on some of those questions, so that if there's something that we looked at that we had questions about in the initial discussion, say, hey, I was thinking about this, what about this? What is the up and down on that? If this department head you need to reach out to, you can get the information so that we're not just having, wouldn't that be a good plan?
Yeah, because actually I had quite a few in public safety as I went through it. I went through everything thoroughly today. I have definitely had some
Okay.
questions, so.
So that
Yeah,
would be
that would be
good.
good.
That would be a good way to do it. That way, at least when we're discussing it. If we don't have to drag the department, if there's department heads, we need to ask questions of, they don't, I mean, they can be there, but we don't.
Writing, I'll get their answers.
Yeah. And then that would be good. So. See, I'm always looking out for you, Sarah.
What's the,
Trying to make it so that it's not, it's like, well, what are you talking about?
what's the, where's the bottom line so far?
On the first page,
I'm not seeing the percentage.
It's up here.
so.
But
I
we don't have this
I don't have the bottom line, I can't give you full bottom line, I don't have it.
Yeah, education right now. is not looking good, my understanding. Yeah, so. It's gonna. That's.
Nope.
Fell in order.
Phone died.
He dropped his phone and then his
That's why,
drink.
that's why I told him to be quiet.
Sorry, we lost you there, Rob.
Oh, what you said, school board biggest meeting, they don't have a final number yet, but right now their numbers are a mess up, that's the stuff. Significantly.
They say that every April,
Yeah, they do.
literally,
Yeah,
every April.
I think, but the other side. Counties.
All right. We'll get to these. stuff
Great.
here for
Yeah,
Bonnie.
thank you all.
I have here.
All right.
Discussion. Be back.
All right,
Yes.
yes.
It may or may not be.
Don't be so decisive. We hope you're here, Rob.
I
We'll see
may or
you.
may not be able to make it to next week's meeting too, depending on if I continue to wake up.
Yeah.
Bye, Rob.
See ya.
I'm gonna get going too, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ben,
See you,
for hanging
Ben.
out
Thank
for
you.
3 hours.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, jumping back to 7.1 Board of Assessors abatement. Pull that up.
For a parcel, we need to correct their acreage total. In both cases, the property, they have two parcels. Presented formal survey. Confirmed correct acreage amount that we have on our assessment records. And then the second was a veterans and homestead exemption for a resident were omitted by mistake for property to other property. So it's a correction. Total.
Is there two parcels under the first abatement?
There are.
Yeah,
There are
okay.
two parcels and they got.
So do I have a motion to? I have a motion
Do
to
something.
abate, I'm just trying to think how to word this. I'll just to
I'll move it. We do that.
approve the abatement, we don't have a lot. That's the lot number? No. That's the town. Count. Do I have a motion to approve the abatement for account number 744 in the amount of $295.74. Account number 743 in the amount of $857.01. And account number 132 in the amount of $492.90. Moved by Tori, do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. Any further discussion?
It's good. No
So
problem,
you-
man.
year to date, is that all abatement? It's the
Yep.
YTD. That's it.
All those in favor? Right, 4 with 1 absent. Moving on to the town warrant. I have a town warrant. Do I have a motion to approve town warrant for $248,061.38?
That's the amended amount?
It's the amended amount.
Yes.
Moved by Karen, do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. Any discussion? All those in favor? Right, scored. 1 absent. And oh, I'm sorry, I jumped over
skip
the town
Sarah.
manager report. I'm sorry, let's jump back to, we're doing leapfrog.
Jumping.
So I'll move back up to item number 8, town manager report.
I'll keep it snappy.
Sorry.
Nomination papers due not this coming Friday, but next Friday, no later than noon. 2 select board seats, 1 for school board seat. We have had 1 person with their papers for school board. We've had 2 people take out papers for select. Historic Preservation Committee, as mentioned before, all scheduled meetings are posted on the town website. Now there is at the bottom. So page. We have had a lot of residents interested in attending, just to go. Which is awesome. So we're making sure we're. on the town website. Taxes were due today. Tentative date for town meeting, Tuesday, June 20th. If you all end up approving that. Comprehensive plan implementation committee, I'll have that for the next regular date scheduled, select board meeting, so next Monday. And don't forget to submit your report session, Shelley.
When do we need to decide, vote on the date of the town meeting? Pretty soon,
We have,
maybe.
we have budget.
Okay.
Whenever you all want to. I think historically it's been done.
Okay.
Did you add, the implementation? meeting?
I added that. Since I didn't.
So what was the implementation?
I'll have a scope for the committee ready for you for next. It's not-
It's because you took vacation.
Vacation. It's all of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Co-vacation. All right,
I'm sure you had fun.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. Almost as good as Peru.
Yeah. We won't talk.
No.
Oh, I see.
Everyone's feeling better.
and then we have our, we have our select board meeting again,
Monday.
next Monday, 7 p.m. Do we feel the need to do a workshop? To go over some of the, and do we have if we're gonna be digging into some of the undesignated fund balance things, it might be good to give a little extra time. I don't know,
I'm fine with it. Get going early.
6 to 1, half dozen. is
Then
better.
maybe we won't go as
Get the
late.
cutoff or posting. I
Was that,
think they have to be-
we can,
We can post it on our website.
we can
We're not
post it, we
actually
don't have to
required
post it in the
Yeah.
paper.
We're not required.
We can nail it to a tree or something like that in front of town office, and I think that covers it. But get my corner hat,
Yeah.
here,
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
be
yeah.
said. But yeah, I think we should pull that. Let's pull a workshop for 6. And maybe it'd be a better way to circulate, go through that section, and then when we move into the budget discussion, we'll be in a better place to.
You mean you want to
So,
start off with the
walk-
undesignated fund? balance
Yeah, I'd
stuff?
like to
Okay.
discuss that kind of stuff more, and then as a hypothetical, and
Yep.
then even if we're still discussing, we're making decisions on monies and how much to put in those different things, at least we have the hypothetical.
Yep.
Overview set.
Okay.
Great. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? By Tom, seconded by Tor, all those in favor, right? That's 4.
Excellent.